Well, for more on these results, I'm joined by our international affairs editor, Kethevane Gorjestani. It's good to see you, Kethevane. So this is obviously a landslide victory. Why has Labour made such big gains?
Well, first of all, it's really something that no one expected. If you look back just a few years ago, back in 2019, the Labour Party suffered its worst showing, and a few years later, you're seeing them with almost a historic win. They're just a handful of seats away from that big victory by Tony Blair back in 1997, where they had won 480 seats. And it is largely in part due to Keir Starmer and how he has sort of rebranded the Labour Party, bringing it back a little bit politically towards the middle rather than towards the left of the party. He was also seen as someone who was very methodical, very cautious, some would say a little bit boring, a little bit dull, but it seems that that's what the voters wanted after years of sort of chaos, whether it was economically, politically, with some of the scandals that plagued the Conservatives, especially in recent years. But when you look at the results and at how this campaign went, it seems that it is as much a victory for Labour as it is a huge defeat for the Conservative Party, because that is really what was at stake. It seemed that voters simply just wanted a change after 14 years of Conservatives. They wanted maybe a return to something a little bit more stable, more calm. Yes, maybe a little bit more boring, but at least something that was about stability. So there is this idea that maybe this is not a vote of adhesion completely to the Labour Party, but rather a rejection of the Conservatives. And that's why it might be a little bit tricky going ahead for the Labour Party and for Keir Starmer, because it seems that the honeymoon is likely going to be very short, and the expectations are huge. That's why he tried to sort of lower those expectations, repeating through the campaign that there's going to need to be some time before things change, that he doesn't have a magic wand to change everything, but people are expecting a lot. They want the living standards to go up. They want public services to work better, like the NHS. He has promised not to raise taxes. He has also promised to deal with immigration without going the Conservative way with that controversial law. So he has a lot on his hands, and it doesn't look like the voters will give him much time to start turning things around. So yes, a huge victory for Labour, but one that overshadows maybe a little bit how complicated it's going to be moving ahead.
And the UK is really bucking this rightward trend that we've seen elsewhere in Europe, haven't they?
Yes, absolutely. We're seeing this win of the left, which is something that we're not seeing in France, for example, or in Italy. But that also sort of overshadows the fact that there has been a push of the far right, of the populist far right in the UK, of course, with Nigel Farage's Reform UK. Nigel Farage trying for the 8th time, and this time it worked. He is going to be sitting in Parliament. And the numbers in seats don't really do justice to the big push that the far right has done in these elections. They are expected to gain 4 seats in Parliament, but if you look at the numbers of votes and the vote share, that is huge. 4 million votes, 14% of the share. To give you a comparison, the Liberal Democrats, they're winning about 71 seats, but they only have 3.5 million and 12%. So Nigel Farage's Reform UK is really the third party in the sense of the amount of votes and the share of the vote.
Our international affairs editor, Kethevane Gorjestani, thank you so much for your analysis.